So yeah, actually I do. I exited yesterday for the Wisconsin one.
Oh, nice.
So
Okay.
yeah, so that one was just a short term. It's supposed to just be a 2 week private money loan,
Okay.
right? And then the problem, the learning lesson I learned was that I had the borrower sign a deed in lieu of foreclosure in case, as a security instrument.
Yep.
So he signed it, but it wasn't supposed to get recorded. It's almost like something I keep in my back pocket, I believe. And if he doesn't, pay me, I can submit
Right.
that to the county, have it recorded, and there I can take possession. But
Mhm.
when I originally funded him, it got recorded at closing. So then I looked on the Wisconsin Register of Deeds website, and then it had my business LLC as the owner. So in order for Kogo to refinance him, they wanted the property to be in his name. So the
Okay.
property was in my business LLC, but the mortgage was also from my business LLC because I had first position mortgage.
Yep.
So we had to get that changed. That was a kind of a hiccup. So we did a quick claim deed. It got put in his name, and Kogo Capital was able to refinance him out, and I just got paid yesterday from title. So
Nice. Okay.
it was originally a 2 week loan. Turned out to be a 8 week loan, but with that, I was compensated because I put in some late fees there. So for like 1 month, I put in a little extra. It was like $1,000 extra for 1 month late, and then $2,000 for 2 months and beyond. So it was good. I made a decent return in 8 weeks. So
Nice. Well, so what was the terms on it? Like 10%, like 12%?
was a
Or
flat interest. So it was 55,000. Borrow 55,000 for a return of 60 in 2 weeks. So then I hired a transaction coordinator from one of Pace Morby's networks, the Gator Lending Discord channel. Right, I met a transaction coordinator. She drafted the documents. It was a $750 fee. Like I was saying, like at that point, you might as well hire a real estate attorney. So from here on out, I'll probably look at going that route. So I paid her for her fees. She drafted the documents, which was a promissory note, deed in lieu of foreclosure, and a letter of intent.
Mhm.
So I had the borrower fill those out. And then I just said, hey, I need this money back soon. So with that said, I'm going to have to put some pretty stiff penalty fees. He's like, okay. So I sent him over my terms, what I felt was good, and he agreed to them. So, and he paid me what was exactly owed with all the late fees. So
So
made an
there's
extra,
a 5,000 flat with the late fees.
with the late fees, which came
What
out
was
to
the late
about
fees?
maybe late fees total came out to around a little over $2,000. So I
So
got paid
seven
out,
grand.
yeah, $7,000, like
Damn, that's a nice
7,200,
return.
7,200, and yeah, in 8 weeks. Yeah,
So 7,200, you put out 55.
55. Yeah, I think I did. I think it was a 13%, 13 point something percent in
But
2 months.
that's not, I mean, if you stretch it out, because that only took you 2 months. So if you stretch it
Right.
out annually, it's almost
Annually, I
like
think
it's
80. I think I did that. I
yeah,
did 13
that's what I'm
times two.
saying.
Yeah, 80%. So I
Yeah,
did that. I was like, oh, it wasn't too bad. And I'm just getting started, just learning, just
that's
trying
a
to
great return. Yeah.
quick,
And
easy
like,
deals like that.
yeah, yeah,
I was just stressed at one point because the borrower's communication, like I was telling you, like at one point he wasn't responding. And I was like, oh man, am I gonna have to foreclose on this guy? Am I gonna have to take the property and rehab it myself? And
right.
I didn't want to go that route, but ended up
Yeah.
he's just not like he's busy or he doesn't communicate well. But a couple of times I'm like, oh man, I was getting nervous sometimes. So,
Yeah.
but all
So
is well
that,
now.
okay, so you
So
closed out the first deal. Was that the first one or
that was
no?
the second. The first one was North Carolina. And then
Yep.
I'm currently in three, one with Keikoa in the triplex, another
Yep.
one in Bellingham, and then one with my friend Kaimano for that townhouse in Vegas.
Nice. Okay.
And those are all just all capital partners on all three of those. So
Yeah.
I'll pass it.
And is it all seconds or are you in on first on some of them?
All seconds now. The only all seconds, I believe. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. The only first was that Wisconsin one, which that one was different too. It's a good learning experience for me.
Mhm.
Get my feet wet type of thing. And
Yeah. Do you know any wholesalers like in the area you're in or?
yeah, I don't know him personally, but I get emails from him and I see him. And a lot, like one I forwarded to Keikoa. He said he's seen it already. He hit up the wholesaler, but yeah, I get emails. I'm on an email blast thing on a list, and then I'm
It
in
would
some
be good to
Facebook
link up
groups.
with them, like get to know whoever like the real players are,
The
and just
person,
tell them like, because if they bring, if they know you, right, and they're trying to service their buyers, they can even say like, hey, I might even know someone that might invest with you, on this
Mhm.
deal. That gives them even more credibility for the wholesaler, and then it also you get to plug into the deal flow, and you can pick and choose, which ones you want to take, because yeah, I'm guessing it matters who the borrower is too, right? Who the
Mhm.
investor is going to be, because you got to look at both the deal and the investor. Are they
Yeah.
trustworthy? Like, can they execute? Do they have a track record? Right. So, but yeah, I think wholesalers would be a good way to kind of tap into some deal flow, because are you gonna deploy the money back out somewhere?
Yes, eventually, yeah. So right now, yeah, I want to reinvest it somewhere else for sure.
Because if you think about it, if you don't redeploy the 55,000, then it's not a 80 something percent return. It's a
Right.
13% return,
Yeah.
which is still great.
Mhm.
And for
Yeah,
the
but
even if that was for annually, a 13%
right.
return is like amazing.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
but if you can turn that money
like
a few more
compound it, right?
times,
Yeah,
yeah,
compound.
yeah,
That's what it's all about. Just growing it, snowballing. Yep, yep.
yeah. As long as you're
Yeah,
covering your bases,
yep.
the deal's solid, the sponsor's solid, and you have the right paperwork, yeah,
Mhm.
send it.
Yeah.
Nice.
So Corey, I have a question for you then. Are you guys looking more into investing in the mainland? Is that like your kind of where you guys are at, like your thoughts on the current market?
It's more like it's more the strategy for the market and the market cycle that we're in. So I I like to invest here, like locally.
Mhm.
But if we're gonna buy cash flow, then I mean we get a better
Yeah,
return in the mainland, right? And
yeah, yeah,
Vegas is kind of like Hawaii, I guess. It's the ninth
yeah,
island. But we have a network out there,
yeah,
teams and stuff. So that's a little bit. Oh, it's a market that, one, the housing, it's going down. The prices are going down. Um, so it's kind of primed for coming in. I don't
yeah.
know yet. I think soon, but yeah. So I mean, Hawaii is a cash flow, or it's an equity market, right? So
Hmm. Hmm.
you want to do equity strategies like fix and flip, ground up
Yeah,
construction,
yeah,
wholesale.
yeah, yeah,
Markets like Vegas, it's kind of a mixture of both. You can flip
yeah,
houses, you can hold long term. So, but it's
yeah,
more because of the market cycle we're in, and
yeah.
um the
Just in
strategy.
general, the
Yeah.
strategy, yeah, for cash flow. That makes sense. What markets are you guys in?
Primarily Hawaii, Seattle, the greater Seattle area, and Vegas. Yeah. Dallas and Houston too, but we just have teams out there kind of looking at the market. I've
Are you
never
guys
been to
open to
Houston.
other markets? Like if you get a good team out there and the network and all that?
I think it really depends. Like
Yeah,
I don't like being spread thin, especially in markets I don't
yeah,
know very well.
yeah, yeah.
Usually when we go in like to a market, like we kind of scout it for a little bit and
Right.
embed in the market, like find out who
Yep.
the players are, talk
Yep.
to the brokerages,
Hmm.
maybe even get to know the planning department.
Right.
And that'll tell you a lot about how the market's,
Hmm.
behaving. Um,
Hmm.
like I've mentioned before, like when we went into Seattle the first time, the market was just way too hot, and I forget what year that was. It might have been 2017. Yeah, it was probably 2017. And so we didn't even do anything for a year in Seattle, really,
Yeah.
until like a full year, and then we came in.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, and that's smart because I mean, knowing what's actually happening in the market makes a big difference. In fact, that's how I think it was it Zillow? They went out and they started this new thing where they were putting out offers on houses like across the nation. They came up with this algorithm where it was like, okay, you know, this is we just, the computer will automatically calculate what the right number is for everything, but they didn't take into account the specific markets and like the different nuances and stuff that were there, and they lost like millions, and they had to let go of just like a ridiculous amount of employees. And like, you know, so going into a market and not knowing the little specifics, or people might from the mainland might be like, oh, I want to buy a nice house in Hawaii. Oh, it's cheap over in Waianae. You know, wow, that, you know, Waianae sounds kind of like Waikiki, and
Yeah.
you know, it's not.
Yeah. Well, you know, like, yeah, because what company did you mention? Because there's a bunch of them that lost money.
I think it's Zillow. They were. It was that whole thing.
Yeah, it was
It
Zillow.
was that whole thing with that
Zillow,
trend. I think it
Redfin,
was-
Open Door. They all
Yeah.
took major, like in the hundreds of millions of dollars lost.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
And even Blackstone, like they've been pausing like withdrawals from their investors.
Oh, really?
You know, and they went into single family, but they crushed it last time. They got
Yeah.
in, you know, at the bottom, and then they sold at the top. So
Yeah.
it just shows, like, for me, I always thought that house flipping is, in my opinion, is not a business, okay? Because there's no cash flow, and
Mhm.
it relies on so many third parties, and it's very hands-on, you know, like it's very hands-on, but you can make a lot of money, you know, and make a big impact too to local communities.
Mhm.
But the thing is, if people who consider it a business that they can scale and that they can build equity in and one day sell, it's possible, but it's really going to be on assets that the company acquires and holds long term.
Right.
Flipping, if it's just house flipping, it's a very hard gig. It's almost like an art, you know, like, and so
Yeah. Mhm.
I always thought that, but then I saw, you know, Zillow buying by the thousands, you know, like
Yeah.
single
Yeah.
family,
Yeah.
and they got all the data. So like, okay, shoot, maybe I was wrong,
Yeah.
you know, maybe they can
Yeah.
scale
Yeah. Yeah.
house
Yeah. Yeah.
flipping.
Yeah.
But then you fast forward and
then they
you
tank.
realize that they may have had all the data, but they didn't really have the personal touch that you need to really make it happen. Because what they were
Yeah.
relying
Yeah.
solely upon was market appreciation. I think, you know, like, I think they're looking at the data. I'm pretty sure most of them bought retail price, and that's why
No,
they
they even
lost,
paid
you
over.
know? Yeah,
For
they
a
even
lot of
went
them, they
over
paid
retail
over
price. They
what
went
it
over
was
market
actually worth.
value
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they relied on their data so heavy at
Yeah.
forecasting, you know, but nobody knows the market. That's why savvy
Yeah.
real estate investors don't rely on market appreciation. If we get market
Yep.
appreciation while we own the asset, that's icing on the cake, right? But those
Mhm.
guys only bought for appreciation. That's speculating, right? They
Yeah.
thought they weren't speculating because they had a lot of data, which in a way, yeah, I guess it, you know, that could be considered one facet of making a decision, you know, a calculated decision, but that's just one facet, you
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah. Yeah.
how much does a renovation cost, you know, and
Yeah.
like I don't know. So it
Yeah,
was
and
very
that's the
telling when that happened. It's a big
Yeah.
lesson for all of us, I think. You know, it's like we
Mhm.
gotta remember the fundamentals, and
Yeah.
especially in these times.
And with any business too, like business analytics, that part of it, you can't just rely on the numbers. You have to look at the context too. That's if you look purely at the numbers, then you're going to tank. If you don't look at numbers at all, you're going to tank, you know. And I
Yeah.
think the reason why flipping doesn't necessarily work as a scalable business, it's kind of like what we were talking about last night, how at the meetup, that every transaction is a little bit different, right? It's specific between that seller and what their needs are and what the property is. No property is really quite alike. So the way I see it is the business itself is every single transaction. So it's not the sum of the transactions, but going in, you're creating your business strategy, your model, whatever you're going to do. And then if it's a cash flowing property, you know, you're building that one cash flow property is a business in and of itself. It's not, you might have an overarching company that's owning it, but you know, if you look at the principles of it, where you put some upfront costs and you get a cash flow, and then you have an equitable product that you could sell later if you want. Same thing that happens with any company.
You know, it's very true, and I think we all should look at like what we're doing, and are we truly building equity, you know, our businesses or our ventures. You know, we had our mentorship call with Leonard Rosen, who he just sold Pitbull Conference and NPLA to our other mentor, John Hornick. So he's out, you know, he's done. He's going to move on to something else now, which is kind of bittersweet for us. Like it's going to be different without Leonard. But our last call, we had to take some hard words from him, you know, because right now the hard money space is just getting slaughtered, man. I don't know if you guys are hearing, but even Civic has really pulled back a lot. We had like 6 million on the table that got yanked last minute, and we had to pivot. And fortunately for us, since we're more of like a correspondent lender, we can pivot quickly. We have multiple capital partners that we're not, you know, beholden to one. You know, we don't have any non or exclusive agreements with anyone. But with that said, like there's not many people out there that are getting aggressive on the bridge loans. You know, DSCR has been gone for a while now. It might be making a comeback. So all of this happened the beginning of this week on Monday, and it was everybody making their move for the rate hike that came on Wednesday, which was 50 basis points. So it's when we were talking to Leonard, he said, I told you guys. He said, you guys need to control your own money, go raise your own capital, go put it into the fund, you know. And it's like, yeah, we're working on it. You know, it's not easy to raise, you know, we're $100 million fund, you know, so and there's a lot of restrictions to investors that can come into the fund. So he was saying, you know, because we're trying to get some updates from him, like what's going on in the market and stuff. And he said, well, it's not good. You know, as everybody who's relying upon like life insurance money, or institutional capital, you know, from Wall Street, like it's just dried up. So, and some of it was kind of overnight. So he said that, look, if you don't have control of your own money, then you don't have a company that's worth anything, you know. So when you think about it, right now there's no, if we try to sell the company, there'd be really nothing to look at other than our loan tape, right? But for us, we sell our notes, you know, so we don't even hold those. So those aren't even assets on the books, right? So that was a big wake-up call for us. Is like, okay, we need to start, you know, building a business, you know, that has equity that we can sell, not just be in real estate, right? Because obviously, like our company is a cash flow machine, you know, and but it's not just about cash flow. You want to build equity too, just like real estate, right? So we had to take some hard words from Leonard, but it's true. You know, we should all be trying to build something that has equity that's going to pay us in cash flow forever and build us equity in case we need to leverage it. You know, and that's, we were talking about this earlier too, is like, how does like guys like Trump and Bezos and Elon Musk, how do they not pay taxes, right? It's because they build equity in their companies by the hundreds of billions, some of the, approaching the $1 trillion mark, and their shares, maybe it's like, I think Elon Musk owns 15% of Tesla or something like that. I mean, I heard he just sold like 3 billion, worth of shares, Tesla shares. So I don't know where he's at now, but that 15% or whatever is worth like 60 billion or 80 billion dollars, so he leverages his equity in the companies that he built equity in, and he gets loans from the bank, which he probably uses to spend on the daily. He probably gets a massive line of credit from one of the big banks, and it's tax-free, because that's not income, that's a loan, so he's leveraging the equity in his properties, with the big banks getting money probably at a basically almost free, probably, and tax-free, right? So that's smart. I think that's smart, but that's why it is important to not just build something that's going to pay you cash flow, but build something that's actually going to build you equity that you could leverage in case of hard times or in case of opportunity, so yeah, that was a big wake-up call.
It's actually interesting you say that too, because there's this commercial appraiser out here who's got a ton of commercial real estate now, like just stupid rich, right? And the way they started it, when he started his firm, he came to an agreement with the other people that he was working with that, so instead of, I don't know exactly how it worked, but instead of investing in like the 401k, like the retirement plans, they pooled their money into to invest in commercial real estate, and they started buying these properties and putting, making that a part of the company, and they're just killing it now. So that's and actually a lot of businesses, they do that because they're making, even when they have this company and it's, got its worth or whatever, they have a lot of money and they're like, okay, well, what can I do with this money now, right? And that's why people end up buying that real estate, because it's a great place to park money where it's going to grow, and then you can leverage it. You're just continually acquiring new assets.
Yeah. And I think it's a good lesson for all of us, I think, who are in real estate, because like it can help you make decisions. Like if you're in a market that's maybe has a lot of cash flow, but it's a flat market, so it never really appreciates. It doesn't really depreciate, so it's just flat, right? So those markets, they don't excite me too much, because that's just cash flow. And maybe if you were to, like, you're paying down, hopefully you're paying down the debt and you're building equity that way, but you're most likely not going to get too much appreciation. I don't really care for those markets, because even if the market does go down, and say it goes down 7%, over a few years, because it's actually depreciating, the cash flow that you're earning annually and that you've already taken from the property, you don't realize it, but that you start chipping away at your earnings, even though it's through equity, and that's why it's dangerous to play sometimes in flat markets, like the Bible Belt, they call it, like the South Midwest, like some of those markets over there is real flat, because if it does turn or costs go up, then your margins will get squeezed, and then there's no real, unless rents go up dramatically to help cover. Rents typically don't go up that quickly, because it cannot, right? But external things like expenses, can go up frequently. So yeah, the fundamentals are so important. In fact, I have my slide deck from last night. I can always go through it too. I don't think it's too long, but some of these slides I've already used before, but I was going to touch upon a lot of the fundamentals, because I think people forget, and then the new investors that came in during like the last few years, when the market was like, everybody was winning, and all the Fortune Builder conferences are rolling, and they got thousands of people coming to their events. It's like that period, I feel is great because it keeps the industry moving. But a lot of those conferences, they make money off the selling the ticket, right? So unfortunately, and it is good because there's a lot of great knowledge and systems being shared, but I feel the fundamentals and the intangible information kind of get brushed on the side and overlooked, when from what I've learned so far in my career is that like much of business and entrepreneurship, the secrets to it, if there are any, are held within the intangibles, not the tangible information. The tangible information, like, hey, go pull this list, use this direct mail piece, set up this website, use this server, all that, like that's tangible information that it can be found anywhere. All you gotta do is spend a little bit of time. It's free. Go on all the forums, research, and you can find the tangible information. But the real gold is in the intangible information. Like what I'm, talking about, that the seat that I had as an administrator for the REI Mastermind in Honolulu, that's kind of intangible information. If somebody asked me, hey, what would you say would be like one of the biggest pivotal moments in your career? I would say when I was the administrator for the REI Mastermind, and that might just go over majority of people's heads, and they don't realize how valuable that information is. Because if you think about it, when you're the administrator, when you're the gatekeeper, everybody has to go through you. You have to know everybody. You have all their information. You know what they do. You know their needs, right? So you hold the power because you have the information and you're the connector. So people think like, I don't want to volunteer to be an administrator. It's like there should be lines lining up to be the administrator, So, but again, that's kind of intangible, like lessons that you learn, and even like the whole, what's the secret to deal flow, right? Relationships. That's it. Yeah, that's the secret. It truly is. But for new investors who, they might be getting sold the dream on stage, and then coming in and they're, they have all the tangible information, they have the best spreadsheets, they got the best software, but they don't know the fundamentals, and they're not learning the intangible lessons, right? They're gonna hit ceilings quicker than most, and then they might get stuck and then quit. That's what happens to most of them, because they don't have the intangible stuff. A lot of the intangibles are mindset. What kind of mindset do you have? And maybe I should, if you guys don't mind, I can share. It'll help me too. I can practice, Sheena, can you toss me some controls?
You do. You can share.
I might just brush over a few, because I've given this presentation before. I guess it doesn't hurt to go over it twice, huh? Sorry, guys. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Slide mode. Oh, now you're seeing the other screen, huh? Sorry, 1 second. Here we go. So this is just like a quick slide deck I put together in these times, because I was thinking, what is the most, when you don't know people in the room, you don't know their current situation, their finances, their obligations, their ambitions and motivations. Like when you don't know anything about people in the room, then I was asking myself, what can I kind of value can I give to kind of touch everybody? And the value I felt in these times is just let's revisit the fundamentals of what we're doing here. Let's go take a step back and analyze our operations and how we think, and go back to the fundamentals. So let's see here. I gave this slide before, but my journey, I went from door knocking to private lending, and everything in between. So I put this slide here because I want to highlight what I just talked about, where when I moved back to California and I felt like I had to start from scratch in investing. The first thing I did was find a local meetup. So I found the Honolulu REI Mastermind through a friend, and Cheryl, who's the owner, asked if I wanted to be the assistant, basically. And so I was like, yes, absolutely, I'll do anything, and that mastermind, you have to have been an experienced investor. You had to have done at least one deal in order to be accepted into the group. And so at the time, I didn't belong in the room, but I had that opportunity, to work, to volunteer, to work. But since I was in that seat, I got to learn, right? I used to take minutes during the meeting. They didn't even ask me. I just said, hey, how about I just take minutes during the meeting and just, email it out to everybody, because I was going to take notes anyways. Like, I'm not going to lose out on this opportunity, right? I'm going to take full advantage of it. And I did. And so that seat, I have to know everybody. I have to know, what they do, genuinely be interested in them, and then serve and empower. That's all. That was my role, and really that was one of the turning points of my career, because I met some of the smartest and most genuine people who are friends of mine to this day. And we've done multiple deals together now, because I sat in that seat. And then I say that because I also talk about what we do today. Where am I today, right? And now a lot of my focus is on our company, Keiko Capital. And it was a new industry, even though I borrowed millions of dollars worth of hard money before we even started this company. I thought I knew kind of what hard money is. Like, how hard could it be? Man, it couldn't be further from the truth. It's been we're going 4 years now, just 4 years of drinking from the fire hose and embarrassing myself, and stumbling over things, and to where now we're a little bit more seasoned, and we've earned our seat at some of the biggest tables in the industry. And in 2019, I was asked by Leonard Rosen to join the new association that he was forming. Sorry, this is 2018, I think, 2018 or 2019. And and he was telling me what it's going to be. It's going to be all the CEOs, all the principals of the major companies. And, his vision is to build an association that can lobby on behalf of, real estate investors and private lenders, and to protect our space. And so I was like, yes, hell yeah, I'm in, Leonard. Stop selling. You're closed. I'll pay the fee. Just, let me in. And, I had to ask him, why, Leonard, why us, and with many other words, he said basically that we're different. We're young. We're not, his words he uses, old white guys. He says that he just doesn't want the entire association to just be a bunch of old white guys. He wants diversity. He wants women in there. He wants, men of, from all over. And that's what he does have in there. So, but he said most of all is he wants the young teams like us to get to be kind of surrounded by mentors and people seasoned in the industry. So of course I took him up on that, right? And we've been in the NPLA since the beginning. And then I had the opportunity to get on a committee, right? So there's I think 5 different committees, and I'm on the membership committee, and our job is to take care of the membership base, make sure that we're providing as much value as possible. and then also go build, grow the membership with, quality, not so much quantity, but quality companies and institutions. So I had that me and Alex had that opportunity, and we jumped on it right away. And I knew already is that out of all the legislative, like all the different committees, there's legislative, there's best practices, ethics, advisory council, or the advisory committee, which oversees all the other committees, right? So the membership committee, I think, is one of the most important. They're all important, but it's not the one where like all the high power CEOs and stuff are in, so it only made sense that I was in that committee anyways. But to me, that was the committee where the gold is, because I'm right back in the same seat that I was in the mastermind when I didn't have any deals too, right? So as now I'm co-chairman of that committee, and we have to know everybody in the room, and we do. So like, that's another intangible, I guess, lesson, but it's so valuable, and that's why, Joe, we're going to find you someone really good to sit in that seat for your mastermind in Kailua or Windward side, because people should be lining up for that gig, because it's changed my career. It's helped me so much. And when you really think about that seat, that's a go-giver seat, and go-givers are connectors, and connectors make the most money. Connectors know how to make money out of nothing, just relationships. Say, hey, that guy's got a deal. That guy's got money. You guys are both my friends. How about you guys do a deal and I jump in with you? Like, can I get a fee or, so anyways, so I put those slides in there because that's a very, important lesson that I've learned that I know will help change someone's career. Someone's going to hear me say this and actually be dangerous with information and take action on that. Okay, so why real estate? I think, when we pick apart someone's why, it always leads to the same thing, right? Financial freedom. We all want financial freedom. That's why we're in investing. That's why we want options. And so if everybody has the same why, like, how is it saturated? Like, is there too much competition? Too many people want to be financially free? Like, well, no, because through real estate, there's so many different strategies that you can pursue, right? But some of the biggest mistakes that I see new investors make is they want to do it all. And that was me too, that was me too. Initially, in my heart, I knew I wanted, like, after looking at all the different strategies out there, and I got a fresh, clean slate I can start when I moved back to Hawaii. I realized that there's so many different strategies, but I really liked wholesaling because wholesaling seemed less risky, less capital intense, and something that I could scale, and looking back, I'm thinking like, yeah, I was right. That's why wholesaling is great, because of those three very, very reasons. And when you wholesale, you have to learn how to build relationships. You have to learn how to deal with hard situations and hard conversations. So I always feel wholesaling is a great first step for new investors, because you can get all the jitters out and you can learn, without a lot of money on the line. Right. So wholesaling is where I started, but there were so many other strategies that once I was wholesaling and making a little bit of money, I, of course, like, okay, how much? Well, I want a house flip now. Now I want to go research and do development, and it's easy to get lost, in the woods with all the strategies. So one thing is you got to choose the right one for you and for market conditions and the market that you play in, and then just double down on that, and I suggest that you should have, if you're going to go full-time, then you might have to pursue both sides, active and passive strategies, right? if our goal is financial freedom, we should always be building towards passive strategies, right? But sometimes people are in a position or they're in a market where it's not suited for passive strategies like Hawaii, right? The whole goal of this presentation was to kind of open everyone's minds to and take the 30,000 foot view, right? And leave with direction. So from what I found, is, like I mentioned, is like most of like the secrets in business and entrepreneurship and investing and in life in general, I think, is that the real secrets are found in the intangible lessons, like we talked about, because the tangible lessons can be found everywhere, right? It's free. We're past the information age already. So, okay, to start, of course, if you're going to know the fundamentals, we have to, and take the 30,000 foot view, we have to understand markets and market cycles. So market cycles, I like this slide because this is like my first meetup at New Wealth that I went to. This is my notebook. And so I guess it's dated October 7th, 2011, it was thought that we are in a buyer's market phase 1. So where is that? Now, buyer's market phase 1 is right here, right? So let's fast forward 11 years later, right? Where are we? I don't know, we're pretty close, you know, like we're like, yeah, I'd say maybe we're like right here still, but we're definitely trending down. And so coming out of a strong seller's market, I mean, we all felt that one, right? So I apologize for my handwriting, by the way. A seller's market phase 2. Let's go over characteristics, right? So a seller's market phase 2, supply starts to rise, demand is high, and supply has not reached an unbearable level yet. The conditions that we're in now is really weird because the market is turning not so much because there's oversupply, but it's because the cost of capital and buyers' buying power have gone down. The cost of capital has gone up, but their buying power has gone down. So this is a little bit different scenario from a normal seller's market phase 2, which kind of tells me that perhaps the fundamentals that we're seeing now aren't so fundamental. You know, maybe there's something going on here. That's why like this is such an interesting time. But buyer's market phase 2 or phase 1, sorry, when you're kind of in the middle of the down and kind of going down, then there's an oversupply in the market. Market is overbuilt and buyers and sellers know it, right? That's very important. The buyers and the sellers know. They both know, right? Right now, I feel that there's no agreement from buyers and sellers yet. Right? Nobody wants to accept what's going on. So the buying strategy would be buy and hold for cash flow. The bottom is falling, right? So that's exactly why me and Ashley are going out to Vegas tomorrow night, is to buy legacy properties, look at properties, see what the market is doing out there. So now I'm not coming back with a contract on this trip, and I'm not coming back with a contract probably on the next trip, because I want to get to know the market and really embed, and to a point where I feel confident enough that I can almost feel the market, where it's at, right? Like when you spend enough time and years investing in the same place, you almost get to feel the market, and I know most realtors like Ashley, I know knows what I'm talking about, where you can feel when it's slowing, you can feel when it's getting hot, and because like all the indicators are going off, right? Maybe days on market, price drops, whatever, multiple offers. So you can feel the market, which will help us understand markets. We need to understand what market you're playing in, right? So for example, I always use this example because it's a real life example. The numbers might not be, so accurate, but the concept is, okay. So in Hawaii, if you only had $500,000 and that's all you had to your name to grow for your retirement, to last you to the end, then we need to make sure that we take good care of that money and we grow it as fast and as high as possible, right? Now, when you have that, let's say you have the options of investing in Hawaii or Jacksonville, Florida. Like, how do we build that as fast and as safe as possible, right? So in Hawaii, with 500,000, you could probably buy a 1-bedroom, 1-bath condo for 500,000, rent it out for maybe 2,200 to 2,400 a month, depending on how nice the condo is. And or you can take that same 500,000, move it to Jacksonville, Florida, okay, and buy 10 houses for 50,000 a door and rent it out for 700 to 900 a month. Okay, so you can make 7,000 to 9,000 a month, or 22 to 2,400 a month, in Hawaii with the same money, right? So if we have to look at it, it's like, well, what's the better decision? If our sole focus was ROI, what is the best decision? Jacksonville, Florida, right? So most investors will choose Jacksonville, Florida. But let's say we put the 500,000 on both properties and we stress tested it, and we fast forward 10 years from now, right? And we look at the performance on both investments. Hawaii might have been the right choice because of appreciation, right? Because we are a very strong equity and appreciation market, right? Because when you have extra low supply and extra high demand, which Hawaii always does, right? Then that only has one way for the price to go, and that's up, right? So appreciating markets, you can see the power. You don't see the power of being in an appreciating market until maybe a few years later, right? But if we fast forward 10 years from now, Hawaii might have been the better investment, right? So but the thing is, again, like we mentioned earlier on the call, if we're savvy and disciplined real estate investors, then the right answer would be Jacksonville, Florida, because we don't make decisions as an investor, a savvy investor, based on appreciation, right? Because then you end up losing hundreds of millions of dollars, like Opendoor, Zillow, and Redfin. And they're a tech company, and they tried to dabble in real estate, and because they thought they had all the data to forecast and predict the amount of appreciation. Like, they didn't understand the fundamentals of this. They had the data, but they didn't have the fundamentals. And so when we invest, or let me go back, once you understand the market that you want to play in, that's going to help you help pave the path for you to choose the right strategy. Because obviously, if your goal is to go jump it right into cash flow, because you don't want to do construction, you don't want to have to, learn that and operate, and you think you want to just go straight into cash flow, that could be fine too. But you're not going to do that in Hawaii. You're never going to catch traction, so because Hawaii is not a cash flow market. Can you find nice cash flowing properties? Of course. And if you find them, let me know, like I'll buy it all day long. But if you find one, you should take it down, right? Because if you get a cash flow property in Hawaii, like, that's the triple whammy. You get cash flow, you get depreciation, you get appreciation. So it's not to say that you can't cash flow out here. Say that again, Joe.
Oh, especially if it's in like a good like neighborhood, but not necessarily like a growing. There's a lot of really high, like really high, even so. Hawaii is an equity market, like appreciation market, right? The land value goes up really quickly compared to stuff on the mainland. But even within Hawaii, there are certain regions that go even higher than normal, with respect, like Waikiki,
Oh,
for
yeah.
example. If you get something in Waikiki area, even if it's just land and you lease it out, I mean, those things appreciate like, millions over, even if they did, a lot of people sometimes they'll do like a 10-year lease, and you'll see they'll start at like, I don't know, at 200,000 or something. And and they escalate every, couple years. And every time they escalate, it's like 200,000, then all of a sudden it's 400,000, then all of a sudden it's 800,000. And
Yep.
by the time you're done, it's like, man, I didn't know Zippies could afford, $1 million a
Yeah.
month, or something like crazy. But places in Waikiki will always kind of grow like that. Or also, I think Kailua is another one of those markets where it's particularly gentrifying, and it's a place where people really, Daedric, I don't know if I said that right, but yeah, Kailua, it's growing. I mean, even you see a lot of these commercial buildings are being renovated, and just more and more people are coming out here. Let's see, but anyway, so places like that in particular, you can, if you get a solid piece of land, you're in a good place.
Well, it's a good point because yeah, maybe Hawaii as a whole, the appreciation goes up a few percent every year or something like that. But what Joe's saying is like, if you dive in and go even deeper and find specific neighborhoods that are actually appreciating far more than the average statewide, that's what you want to look for. So like, that's a great tip, that people don't really talk about, is like, yeah, appreciation in markets in general, it's good to know that, but let's find the neighborhoods that are appreciating like 3x, 3x that, right? Because then you can really find a nice piece of land. And but with that said, like, yeah, if that's icing on the cake, right? So the numbers still have to work up front, and then that's icing on the cake. And when you ride, when you're trying to purchase for long-term like legacy plays, you also have to consider yourself personally, like maybe I don't want majority of my wealth across the nation in Jacksonville, Florida, and maybe like for myself too, Hawaii is my home, and I want majority of my assets right in my backyard, even my long-term, so, and what is the price to pay for that? Well, I'll take a lower ROI because I know that, these are properties I might want to pass down. I might want to hold forever, so I want that in Hawaii. And, if that has to have some sort, that has to be accounted for in your, weighted decision making. So I think for me, that's a big thing. I want my wealth here at home. Now it doesn't mean I'm not going to go and invest like we are now here and there when opportunity arises. Like I'm there, I'm an entrepreneur, right? I'm going where the opportunity is. So that's why we're going to Vegas. But eventually, yeah, I might be moving all our wealth back home so that it's home. I want to own home. And that kind of brings me to my main point is knowing your value, because like I've come to find that Hawaii and the people of Hawaii, like our community, like I really care, like maybe sometimes too much where but I know my value now, and my value is the knowledge and experience that I've gained over the last 11 years, learning from other people, making mistakes, because I'm a born and raised local boy here. I always will be. And so I identify with the people of Hawaii. I know that, and I know the struggle. I know why people are getting priced out of Hawaii, priced out of paradise, right? So my value, I feel now, is to share the knowledge that I've gained and the lessons that I've gained, the tangibles and the intangibles, Because I think the reason why people get priced out of Hawaii is because they're not educated in finance and investing. Fortunately, we're here, right? And this is a small room. It's just like 20 people. So like the local people are getting priced out because they don't understand that it's not politicians that are, causing the prices to go up. It's not real estate investors or developers. It's not realtors, right? It's the market. It's basic economics, supply and demand, right? So if they understood that, maybe there would be less, hostility and bitterness, I feel, amongst local people when they look at people who are investing and buying land and flipping houses. They're just not educated yet. So my value is to spread that as much and as far as I can, because I feel that what we do is very honorable, noble, fulfilling. And I want people to understand that, yes, we're here to build our wealth. We're here to accomplish our goals, our whys, to be financially free. But while on the way doing that, I feel that we can make a huge impact amongst our community by sharing what we're doing. Everybody should know. So know your value, right? And our value is, as investors, is that we provide solutions for distressed homeowners and distressed properties. We provide business and jobs for many local people, the title, escrow, realtors, contractors. So we also provide housing especially in markets that are starving, like Hawaii, right? That need inventory. We clean up neighborhoods. We help regular, ordinary people get to invest passively with us as private lenders, and they get paid double-digit annual returns. Most people don't know this, or they know and they don't want to face the hard truths that their retirement is worthless, which brings my next slide, right? So while we need to know what market we play in, we need to know what street we play on. And I'm talking about Wall Street and Main Street, right? And I've brought this up a few times on the call, but it's important to really understand, I feel, this concept, because if we understand this, we can communicate it to the average day local people or anybody, because it doesn't make sense. Okay. So let's talk about Wall Street. What is Wall Street? Who plays on Wall Street? It's typically high net worth investors or individuals. It's large global corporations, private equity funds, hedge funds, retail. The retail investor is the last to know when they play on Wall Street, right? Main Street represents the average day American, the average person, small businesses, us here on the call, so if we are Main Street players, right, which is the majority of Americans, then why are we putting our wealth and our retirement? Why are we playing on Wall Street? It doesn't make sense to me, because the guys on Wall Street, it makes sense to them, the good old boys club, the guys who went to Ivy League school, the guys who have idea dinners, in the Hamptons, and dude, like if you're a retail investor, you're the last to know. You're the sucker, unfortunately. So because there's no security in the markets either. There's no collateral. There's no tangible asset that's securing your funds like real estate. And we're the last to know. Unfortunately, it is the truth. And when by the time a stock pick hits CNBC money or something, everyone's made their move already. The big hedge funds, and then there's funds that just all they do is follow the big funds. Every time they move, and of course they're, insider trading is illegal, but it happens every day. They tell them, hey, we're about to sell big load. You don't think they all start selling? They're all going to start selling. And then maybe it's the guys who, should be somewhat in the know. They should know a lot, which is the financial advisors, the brokerages out there that manage, Main Street money and they play on Wall Street with Main Street money and charge fees, you know, so where they don't beat the S&P 500. You know, most investors, most funds cannot outperform the S&P 500. You know, my investors, anti down the road, they almost double the S&P, right? Annually, every year. Not if there's a good year or bad year, every year. They beat the S&P. We do. If I make a return of 7 to 8%, I should quit. I should be fired. You know, if I don't know how to make a great, that's my job. That's our job. You know, as investors, we get a return on our investments, right? So we need to understand this and face the hard truths, unfortunately, and communicate it to the average day people that if you're a Main Street player, which most of us here in Hawaii are, you know, then why are we playing in Wall Street, you know, to get slaughtered? You know, Wall Street, they play on Wall Street and they sell to Main Street. They sell to us, you know. If you guys have money in with brokerages, okay, check your statements. I would just check your statements and what is your return? Ask yourself, what is your return? And then ask how much fees are they charging? Take the fees out, you know, and let's get honest with ourselves. Because if you're making a low percent with inflation high, you're losing money, your wealth is shrinking. Like you gotta let's take control, right? So, and that's why I'm passionate about it, because this is a true story. This is my Auntie Dana, by the way, but this is the story I'm about to tell isn't about her. It's about another auntie down the road. But imagine auntie down the road, right? Just getting by paycheck to paycheck here in Hawaii, and she doesn't know how she's gonna get ahead. Like this auntie is a true story. So she didn't know that the house that she was living in that was passed down to her was owned free and clear. She didn't know that she could leverage it, right? She didn't know what the difference between good debt and bad debt was. All she thought was debt was bad. That if you have debt, you know, you want to clear it as fast as possible, right? So she's not educated. So all we did was let her know, you know, give her a little bit of education and strategy, let her know that she can go to any bank as long as her credit was good. She can go to any bank at the time and get a home equity line of credit at a lower interest rate. She can lend it to us. We'll give her, you know, security and collateral, and we'll pay her monthly, right? So she had $850,000 worth of equity in that house because it was owned free and clear. She pulled $600,000 out, and I think it was like 2% for like 3 years or something, and lent it to us at 12%. Okay, that's instant cash, almost instant cash flow, passive, right? So auntie down the road who was just getting by paycheck to paycheck, you know, where she can't get ahead, she feels like she's stuck, she's in the rat race, then, you know, she didn't know. All it took was a little bit of education, a little bit of, you know, strategy and a little bit of help. And now 600,000 at 12% paid monthly is 6,000 a month. That's 72,000 a year. That's an extra salary, someone's salary, you know? So imagine an auntie down the road, like kind of breaking even, is net zero every month. Can't even take a vacation or, you know, save for something to get out. Now she has $6,000 coming to her every month, passive, right? Because of just a little bit of education. So there's a lot of local people out here, I feel, that they're getting priced out of paradise, not because of anything else other than the fact that they unfortunately haven't learned what I learned, you know? So I feel almost guilty having this information inside of me and not sharing it, you know, especially to local people here. Every time I hear it's like on the news, they're talking about, you know, affordability and local people, you know, DPP and this and that. I mean, don't get me wrong, DPP is a big problem of why our prices are so expensive. That's a fact, you know, but it's not the only problem. It's not even the biggest problem. The biggest problem is education. Local people don't understand money. They don't understand how it works. The moment Auntie down the road understood, light bulb, like she realizes that, yeah, this is the same thing that the banks do to us. They take our money, they hold our money in CDs or deposits or, our savings account and checkings accounts. That money's gone. Like it shows up on screen, but that money's gone. They're using that to cut loans, so they pay us 0% basically. So imagine us getting free money. Wouldn't that be fun to play with, right? So the banks hold our money, they even can leverage it at the Fed rate from 10 to 11x, so every dollar that goes in, that's a lot of buying power for the banks that they can go and cut mortgages and HELOCs and personal lines of credits. And they make a lot of money doing that. So Auntie down the road, now she understands that, oh, that's how banking works. Yeah, that's right. They don't pay me any interest. That's weird. Like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna borrow from them and I'm gonna lend it out. I'm gonna get a spread, so that changed her life. So here as investors, we have to know our value, because then we can make a bigger impact. And when you do that, the money just follows, so another intangible information is that if you don't focus on the money will come. And it's hard to understand that when you're new and you're in survival phase where you need to hunt for all your kill or you don't eat, so I get people are in different parts of their careers, but I wish I understood these intangible lessons earlier. It would have saved me a lot of headaches, a lot of mistakes. It would have got me focused on the right things. So just remember that majority of business and entrepreneurship, investing are held in the intangibles. And in order to see that, first, we have to be aware of it, which is what's happening right now, is that hopefully I'm making everyone aware that the tangible information that's necessary, but that's a small piece of what's required to be successful, I feel, in entrepreneurship. Most of it is held in the intangible lessons. So if we got anything out of this, I hope that it's that we're aware of that. And then now we can be intentional about paying attention to those lessons. Ever since I've come to the realization of that, I just get lesson after lesson. I'm just seeing them left and right because I'm aware now, so hopefully I can infect all of you guys to just be aware. Let's take a step back. Let's take a 30,000 foot view at what we're doing, how we behave, what our relationships look like, what type of operations do we have, where do we need to plug holes? We need to step back. If you really want to see this as a business, then you can't be too far in the thick of it. One of the best books I ever read was Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. He's a former commander in the Navy SEALs, SEAL Team 3, which is the SEAL team that had to take back the city of Ramadi in Iraq, which is the most dangerous place on earth back in 2003, 2003 to, 2006 or something. And what they had to do was they literally had to live amongst the enemy and live in Iraq and overtake one building at a time and build bases around after every building that they retook from the insurgents, right? So at the beginning, the big lesson that I got too from that was that Jocko, the author, when you see this guy, he looks like a real life G.I. Joe. Like go Google Jocko Willink, listen to his podcast. It's pretty hardcore, but he looks like a G.I. Joe, but he said, as much as I wanted to be the guy kicking down the doors and dragging bad guys out, shoulder to shoulder next to my brothers, as I wanted to be in the fight too. Like Navy SEALs, those guys, they get excited, I think, during those times. That's their Super Bowl, right? And so he said, as much as I wanted to be there, boots on the ground, fighting side by side with my brothers, I couldn't, because his role was to be back and survey the battle. And so so he can see the big picture and know the plan. He's the navigation, right? They're the engine. So we have to look at that too. We have to be the navigation for what decisions we're making. We have to look forward, don't put the head down too long. You got to look up every now and then, because you'll see the lessons that are everywhere, and then opportunity also arises. So I hope that was value to everybody, but I think it is very important to go back to the fundamentals sometimes, especially in these times. And because we came out of a season of, like, if you watch Game of Thrones, right? The long summer, like they're born in the summer where they don't know, or what a recession feels like. I didn't know either, I feel like I got a taste of it in 2020 because the COVID crash was a nice sharp one. It was violent, but it was quick. And this one's different. This one's a little slow burn, but I have a feeling that the housing market, there's still a lot of bleeding to be had across the nation, but it will stabilize. And I think it will stabilize quicker than people are going to realize. I think about midway year is when we're gonna start to really feel the pain. And then after that, I think by the end of next year, I have hopes that it's going to turn. And I hope that we're all positioned properly because we understand the fundamentals. Like, even if you're just getting into the game, like I would say try, maybe sit down with a mortgage broker, find out what their what you qualify for. And if you don't qualify, what are you going to have to do to qualify, right? Because in times like these, since I know my value, I know what I offer the marketplace, then I know that in this moment, like my whole career has been leading me up to where we are now, I feel, because I have the knowledge, I have the resources now, right? So I know my value, and there's going to be a lot of distress. And really the only source of solution for a distressed homeowner who's on the clock, who needs to sell and quick, is us, investors, crazy people like us. So I know my value, right? And I hope you guys know yours, because it's almost our duty to be out there underwriting deals, talking to sellers, negotiating, solving problems for these people. So that no one's going to do it but us. You think the banksters are going to go out there and deal with the homeowners and be empathetic and sympathetic? No way. Only us. So I guess it's my call out to everybody. Like, let's start looking and preparing to buy. We need to buy real estate. So buy right.
Corey, yeah, and there's actually a really important principle that you've touched on throughout this whole conversation, and really it's the fact that, like, when we talk about the rat race, we think about like that whole raising our income, but it's more than just about raising how much we bring in, because I don't know if people realize all the time, but our expenses, you can only, even if you reduce your expenses to a bare minimum, it doesn't matter. That is going to rise. Whatever you're paying now, in a year from now, 2 years from now, if you look back 50 years ago, I mean, if people talk about McDonald's being like 10 cents for a cheeseburger, right? And so there comes a point where, and when you think about people's jobs, like, how often do people get a pay raise? It's every couple years maybe, and what maybe like 50 cents or $1, or depending on what it is per hour, right? But our expenses are only going to increase. So we're not only trying to race to passive income, but we're trying to outpace our expenses. And our expenses are fast. They know how to run. They be doing marathons all day. So our job is to really identify and find places to add that value that's going to help everyone to supersede that. And that's why we always have to keep looking for opportunities, keep doing it, because if we just sit idle, well, you'll lose every time.
Yeah. Well, I love that you brought that up, because I don't know, I mean, maybe this is a controversial way of thinking, but in my opinion, if the theme or if how you feel is that I need to cut back on my expenses, some people actually do. You know, if you're reckless with your spending, then yeah, you do need to cut back. But I think majority of people, it's a mindset thing where they feel like, okay, the only way for me to, you know, to be able to save is I got to cut back on my expenses. Some people definitely do have to do that. But in my opinion, when you take a mindset like that, that's backwards. You're playing not to lose now, you know, like I play to win, you know, like, look, if my expenses go up, I just win bigger, you know, like I'm just going to win. You know, I'm not even thinking about losing or taking a back step, like, and I don't even want any of that in my mind, you know, in my subconscious dragging me down, you know, like so yeah, sometimes we do gotta cut back on expenses. And like, but to me is like, oh, you're gonna raise taxes, okay, well, I just better make more money then. I better just go win bigger then. I better just make a bigger impact then. Like if you're an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter, you know. So, but one thing that does matter is anything that's gonna take me backwards. Like if that mindset I feel does take me backwards, you know, I don't want to inherit a mindset like that. So I agree with you, Joe, where yeah, it's like I don't want to worry and have like anxiety over I'm spending too much on this, on that. Like that means money's controlling you, you know, and that's money does control most people. You know, people may think that they're living humbly and below their means, but really they're controlled by money. You know, they're afraid of it. You know, they're afraid of not having it. And with people who are afraid of not having money, don't get money. Money likes to move. Money likes speed. You know, it likes to circulate. So that's why we shouldn't sit on cash. Like we should be smart about money. We need to respect it, right? And we need to put guardrails in place. If you're a guy like me, you know, that would just hand money out, you know, like sometimes like you got to have guardrails in place. Like I don't manage the money anymore. I don't cut the checks, you know, and because yeah, and
Yeah, always got to push
muted.
that income bar up. Oh,
You are muted, sweetie.
I was gonna say,
But I
can
think we
speak
gotta
to
wrap
that.
this
Corey is
call
definitely
anyway.
the
So
spender.
yeah.
I am
There you
definitely
go.
the saver.
Yeah. So, and you know what? Actually, a lot of Ashley's, like I've learned a lot from, because I was borderline wreck. I'm one of those impulse buyers. I get bamboozled on those Instagram buys all the time, and like
Crazy, like crazy bamboozled.
here we go.
And you should try to play Monopoly with him. And like our 6-year-old, 7-year-old, like he's going all in. He's doing loans, and sometimes it's
side
just his
bets.
Monopoly, and he's doing like he's just such a spender. I love it. You definitely need a yin and yang. So if you have business partners, make sure that you have a yin to your yang. If you're a spender, get someone that's conservative.
Yeah, that's a great tip. But hey, you give me Monopoly money, I'm gonna YOLO every time. You
literally yell YOLO and throw all of your money or all of your
That's what I said, YOLO. I yell it.
daughter. She's just thinking that, what, mom, I'll make more. Like she's out there, she's spending all of her money on Christmas presents. She's like,
girl.
I'll make more. Like
So
save, be strategic.
No, yeah. Ashley and I learned a big lesson because you know, Kiana used to scoop poop every day for $1. Yeah. And then, you know, we kind of try to slip in like little lessons here and there. And she wanted to start a lemonade stand. So we started a lemonade stand. She made like $50 in like 1 hour. Okay. And then she started asking questions, right? So she was like, wait, so I made $50 today? Like, this is mine? I'm like, oh no, it's like the wheels are starting to turn, you know. So
it's like, yeah, the return to ratio, like 2-3 dogs do 100 days for $100, or sit outside and sell lemonade for 3 hours and I get half that. She's like, this doesn't make sense.
So that was a mistake. Hopefully lessons for parents, you know, like don't give those lessons too early, you know, might backfire. So now she was just complaining today, she doesn't want to scoop poop anymore. So I think yeah, we don't like learn from our mistake.
Yeah. You know what? I think the lesson there is that there needs to be a parental cut, because I was physically
Oh, heck
squeezing
yeah.
lemons. She gave me 25 cents, but I felt like that was an unfair ratio. So we digress. Sorry. I didn't mean to take it off topic, but
Well, yeah, she's the ultimate entrepreneur, man, because she had the whole kitchen working and she had like people watching the stand. So what
delegation,
she
I
did
guess,
was
is
smile.
there. She had you running back and forth. I was squeezing lemons and she was out there being adorable and cute and holding the sign. I was like, babe, I'm not squeezing any more lemons. And she's like, Mom, I'm the face. Like,
Yeah,
honey, what else are you gonna do? Like,
we got
there's so
bamboozled.
many lessons of who to partner with, how to delegate. If you want any, you can just go ask her because I'm learning. I'm taking notes.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys all for coming on. I said, Derek, I just saw your comment about your buddies. Yeah, I got the Go Chain and the Tacomas. Yeah.
Yo. Gotta set them right.
Yeah, there you go. Well, thank you guys. Thank you for coming on this Friday. Well, I think I looked at the dates. I mean, we can roll every Friday for the rest of this month. It kind of falls in between. So I think I think I'll be on. Like, we'll do it. If there's a cancellation, I'll let you know. But oh shucks, Kurt, I'm sorry. I wanted to bring you on, dude, to talk about some stats. Should we hold for next week or?
It's up to you guys. I don't want to hold you guys up. I know you guys have a lot of things going on. Let me know.
Well, I think we should do next week again anyways, because I have a feeling holidays might be a little light, so people might here and there every Friday, every other Friday or something. But
Yeah.
maybe we'll hold for next week, unless there's anything like real big you think we need to know right now.
Nah, not really. Just, Corey, just listen to your presentation. It's just that everybody got to remember, all the opportunities that we get. If you don't have, you may have the skills, but if you don't have the will, it's a big difference. You need to have the will,
Yeah.
and you gotta learn you need to learn new things, and you need to do what you've been told to do, and take your ego, leave it at the door. And we're all learning new things, no matter what age you are. So just remember, you can have the good looks like Corey and the skills, but if you don't have the will,
Thank you, sir.
you need to have that will. So you need to guys go do it. And what you guys doing is fantastic. And everybody says, what's my eye? This is my eye and this is what I do. It's more like, what kind of legacy are you leaving behind? Like some of you who don't have kids, or some you have kids, some have grandkids. What kind of legacy when you leave this good earth, what are you going to leave behind? And they're going to remember you. I know if you're young, you probably don't understand this, but what kind of legacy you're going to leave behind. But that's basically it.
Exactly. Yep, that's what I'm in it for. It's I always go back to the 4 phases: survival, security, success, and significance. We're all on the journey somewhere. Some go from survival straight to significance, some work both at the same time. But knowing your phase, and knowing what phase is important. And the security phase is actually the most dangerous phase, when you're actually okay, or you have a job and you have the golden handcuffs, like that's dangerous too. You forget your dreams sometimes, and then you rely on other people instead of betting on yourself. So I think all of us here in the room are betting on ourselves. We're taking time Fridays to, listen and maybe hear about what's going on and strategies and if you can get one nugget out of any talk, I don't care what room it's in, that's a win, and then the next part is what I've learned is being dangerous with information. I even had to ask myself, because how come, how did I get to where I am? I'm a normal guy, and the way it really was that I put other people in front of me ever since the meetup, since my working with my mentors, never questioned them really. I just only went until I had to ask them what they're doing. So I had to make sure I'm not scamming people, I was a great number 2. Part of being a great leader is knowing and how and when to follow, and be a great number 2, because sometimes you got to lead from the back, let other people shine. and serve them and empower them. That's leadership at the highest level. Leaders who create people around them that become great leaders, like that says something about them, like that's legacy too, like that's what we're in this for. So, and that's what I'm saying, the intangible lessons, if I had to go back and see, like, how did I get here? I'm from Waimanalo. I went public school. I'm not supposed to be here. Like, why do I have this knowledge? It's because I served and empowered others first, like 100%. That's why. Go-giver mindset. And it sounds like hocus pocus. It sounds like, because everybody wants to hear the tangible shit. And that's not it. That's why,
You just, mhm.
yeah,
you just
Joe's
have-
looking for a guy for that seat,
Just have to remember something. And I hope majority of this is we all live in America. Okay. And you have to remember the land of opportunities. Where are you going to go? What country are you going to go to where you can get a $2 lottery ticket and you can be an instant millionaire? Where are you going to go? So what I'm saying is you guys have opportunity to whatever you guys want to do. You can work the hardest you can here in America and you can get what you want. You put your effort into other countries, you're not going to get what you can get paid for in America, in the US. Think about that. Think about other countries. You can bust your ass in other countries. You're not going to make the same money as you would do in here in the US.
Or they might
Really
even
think
take
about
it from
that.
you, like they
Right.
have in some countries, huh?
Yeah. But anyway, you guys be safe. Thanks, Corey.
Thanks, Kurt. Thank you, guys. Have a great weekend. We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Happy holidays.